Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Oh, yeah, we need the book. Thank you. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
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 Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So we are reading today at Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 23, called Life's Ultimate Goal, and verse 92. Please repeat after me. Nayaka,
Nayaka,
hero. Naika, heroine. Dui, tu. Rasera, of melos. Alambana, the basis. Say, those. Dui, tu. Shreshta, chief. Radha, Shrimati Radharani. Rajendranandana, and Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Naika naika tu irasera lambana. Naika Nayaka naika tu irasera lambana. Se tu ishrestharada Vrajendra Nandana. Se tu ishrestharada Vrajendra Nandana. Nayaka naika tu irasera lambana. Se tu ishrestharada Vrajendra Nandana. Nayaka naika tu irasera lambana. Se tu ishrestharada Vrajendra Nandana. Nayaka naika tu irasera lambana. Se tu ishrestharada Vrajendra Nandana. Thank you. Maybe one Mataji.
Nayaka naika duirasera lambana.
Nayaka naika tu irasera lambana.
Se tu ishreshta radha Vrajendra Nandana.
Se tu ishrestharada Vrajendra Nandana. Thank you. So, translation: the basis of all transcendental melos is the hero and the heroine. And Srimati Radharani and Lord Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, are the best. So we are coming to the end of the instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. There were, I think, 3 chapters of instructions. Before that, Lord Chaitanya had been instructing Rupa Goswami, and now he's instructing Sanatana Goswami. And we will read a few more verses, which are a little technical and might feel to be a little bit beyond our capacity of grasping, but there will be actually quite some hints of how we can actually grasp them, and we will after churn a little bit the topic of understanding those topics that are sometimes a little bit over our heads. So verse 93. E mata dasye dasa sakya sakagana vatsalye mata pita ashraya lambana. Just as Lord Krishna and Srimati Radharani are the object and shelter of the melo of conjugal love, so in the melos of servitorship, Krishna, the son of Maharaj Nanda, is the object, and servant like Chitraka, Raktaka and Patraka are the shelter. So, who is the object? Krishna. And who is the shelter in servitorship? Servants, like Raktaka, Patraka, and so on and so forth. Similarly, in the transcendental melos of friendship, Lord Krishna is the object, and similarly, and friends like Sridham, Sudam and Subal are the shelter. In transcendental mellows of parental affection, Krishna is the object, and Mother Yashoda and Maharaj Nanda are the shelter. Very good. I was feeling so sorry that Prabhupada did not expand more. There could be really like some very deep thoughts on Krishna being the object and the associate of Krishna being the shelter. How to really understand that in the proper way. Unfortunately, we do not have here a purport. We'll go a little bit through different verse, and then we come back into those topics. Verse 94. Erasa anubhave yaiche bhaktagana yaiche razahaya shurna tahara lakshana. Now hear how the mellows appear and how they are realized by the devotees on different transcendental platforms. Here it's a very, very long Sanskrit. I skip the Sanskrit and I go directly to the translation. For those who are completely, and here we hear about devotees who are in a very high level of Krishna consciousness. For those who are completely washed of all material contamination by pure devotional service, who are always satisfied and brightly enlightened in the heart, who are always attached to understanding the transcendental meaning of Srimad Bhagavatam, who are always eager to associate with advanced devotees, whose happiness in the service of the lotus feet of Govinda is their very life, who always discharge the confidential activities of love. For such advanced devotees, who are by nature situated in bliss, the seed of love, rati, is expanded in the heart by previous and current reformatory process. Thus the mixture of ecstatic ingredients become tasty, and being within the perception of the devotees reaches the highest platform of wonder and deep bliss. So that's also like a very deep verse who shows like the very high level of advanced devotee. They've totally washed away all the material contamination from their heart by, anyone remember how they did that? So? By pure devotional service. By pure devotional service we wash away all those contaminations. They are enlightened, they are full of happiness. The lotus feet of Lord Krishna are their life and soul. That means nothing else has any importance anymore. That's really like the main object of their worship and attention. And to those devotees, the mixture of ecstatic ingredients become tasty and more tasty. So more taste is coming to them, and they reach the highest platform of wonder and deep bliss. So that might sound like, where are we? That's not yet me. We can recognize we are not at this level, but it's the chapter is called Life's Ultimate Goal. So here we are connecting with what is actually what is supposed to be our aspiration, that we should be aware of what actually we are going towards. So I will read a few more verses up to the time we come to the purport, and then we'll elaborate on it. The lecture goes up to 8:30, or flexible?
Sunday, and when special guests are here, we're more flexible.
Okay, good. So verse 99. Erasa asvadana hi abhaktera gane Krishna bhakta gana kare rasa asvadane. The exchanges between Krishna and different devotees situated in different transcendental mellows is not to be experienced by non-devotees. Advanced devotees can understand and appreciate the different varieties of devotional service reciprocated with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. next verse on that. Non-devotees cannot understand the transcendental mellows exchange between the devotees and the Lord. In all respect, they are very difficult to understand. But one who has dedicated everything to the lotus feet of Krishna can taste the transcendental mellows. So here we hear, in all respect, those are very difficult to understand. So those high topics are actually not so easy to understand. It's all right if we cannot grasp it immediately or so easily. It's normal, totally normal. But one can actually be able to understand them when one is dedicating everything to the lotus feet of Krishna. Verse 101. This brief description is an elaboration of the ultimate goal of life. Again, we touch to the ultimate goal of life. Indeed, this is the fifth and ultimate goal, which is beyond the platform of liberation. It is called Krishna Prema Dan, the treasure of love for Krishna. So this is like the ultimate. So, 102. Previously, I empowered your brother. This is all what we hear is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Sanatana Goswami. Previously, I empowered your brother Rupa Goswami to understand those mellows. I did this while instructing him at the Dasa Ghat in Prayag. So here again we come to this point that is actually not so easy to understand those topics. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, when I told all that to Rupa Goswami, then I empowered him to actually understand it. Then verse 103, O Sanatan, you should broadcast the revealed scripture on devotional service and excavate the lost places of pilgrimage in the district of Mathura. And then the last verse for today, establish devotional service to Lord Krishna and Radharani in Vrindavan. You should also compile Bhakti scriptures and preach the Bhakti cult from Vrindavan. And here we have a purport from Srila Prabhupada. Sanatana Goswami was enjoined 1. To broadcast the revealed scriptures on devotional service and establish the conclusions of devotional service. 2. To re-establish the lost place of pilgrimage like Vrindavan and Radhakund. 3. To establish the Vrindavan method of temple worship and install deities in temples. In bracket, Sri Sanatana Goswami established the Madan Mohan temple and Rupa Goswami established the Govindaji temple. And 4. To enunciate the behavior of a Vaishnava as Srila Sanatana Goswami did in his Hari Bhakti Vilas. In this way, Sanatana Goswami was empowered to establish the cult of Vaishnavism, as stated by Srinivasacharya in his Sat Goswami Astakam. Can sing with me? Nana Shastra Vicharane Kanipuno Satarma Samstapako Lokanam Mitakarino Tribhuvane Manyo Shanam Yakaro Radha Krishna Padara Binda Bhajana Nande Namataliko Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Shri Sanatana Goswami, Shri Rupa Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami and Shri Gopal Bhatta Goswami, who are very expert in scrutinizingly studying all the revealed scriptures with the aim of establishing eternal religious principles for the benefit of all human beings. Thus they are honored all over the 3 worlds, and they are worth taking shelter of because they are absorbed in the mood of the gopis and are engaged in the transcendental loving service of Radha and Krishna. This Krishna consciousness movement continues the tradition of the six Goswami, especially Srila Sanatana Goswami and Srila Rupa Goswami. Serious students of this Krishna consciousness movement must understand their great responsibility to preach the cult of Vrindavan, devotional service to the Lord, all over the world. We now have a nice temple in Vrindavan, and serious students should take advantage of it. I am very hopeful, Prabhupada said, that some of our students can take up this responsibility and render the best service to humanity by educating people in Krishna consciousness. Those of you who know the prayers, you can recite with me. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnanam Jana Sholakoya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Svapanantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapada Kamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshvari Vrishabhanu Sude Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, with the torchlight of knowledge, has opened my eyes. Therefore I offer him my respectful obeisances. So we have a serial. First of all, actually, I want to ask for your blessings and good wishes to deliver this lecture and hopefully have some points that will be relevant for our spiritual journey. So we are in this chapter of life's ultimate goal. We could also call that prayojana, the ultimate result of all our efforts, of all our endeavors. And so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is making us more aware of where we are actually aiming to go. So we see like it's a step-by-step work in progress toward the ultimate goal of life. And I thought the principle we can extract from those verses that we were reading is that to reach the supreme goal of love of God, we must actually learn it, and we have to be aware of it. And I hope that in this lecture we will develop enthusiasm and tips on how to study more carefully the scriptures and how to make a progressive advancement on our spiritual journey. So we will see how we can understand the scriptures, even those who are a little complicated or not so easy to grasp. we will see how on our spiritual journey we will go through different levels of advancement and make sure we don't get stuck in any of those levels. And then we will see of how we can develop more the awareness of the eternal ultimate goal. So when we read those verses, we know there is a lot of nectar waiting for us. There is actually a very, very bright future, but sometimes it's not so easy to relate with them according to the stage where we are at the moment. Once we had a devotee who was a preacher who came to Golokadam, and Akshayananda Prabhu, who was actually speaking on nectar of devotion, and it was really not easy to grasp, because it's very, very intricate type of knowledge. But I noticed, I just kept hearing, and I could notice it was like a pouring of nectar. I could feel, even though I could not grasp everything so quickly or easily, I was feeling, wow, this is very nice, very, very nice to hear. But still, we want to make some effort trying to understand. And that's also, in the beginning of our Krishna consciousness, we understand the basics. We are not the body. We go through the Bhagavad Gita in a very steady way. And then after that, we have Bhagavatam, we have Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we have also Nectar of Devotion, who are like very, very, very specific, very precise type of teaching, that as we actually progress in our Krishna consciousness, we should be attracted and inspired actually to learn. This is part of the step-by-step journey of our devotional service. But first I would like to ask you a question. Is it actually important to study, or is that Gyan, and we are not interested about Gyan? Bhakti Gyan, yeah, very good. Actually, when we hear that we are not Gyanis, that Gyan is not important for us, this is the knowledge which is connected to the impersonal Brahman and to impersonalist type of knowledge. So those ones we are definitely not interested, those who aim into liberation. But we are very much inspired and interested about Bhakti scriptures. So no argument of not being willing to study. We want to study, but Bhakti scriptures. And I noticed that very often devotees are doing all right in chanting their 16 rounds of japa, but very often the reading part and the studying part is actually neglected or left aside. Who of you feel like this, that is doing his japa but reading is poor? Okay, good. So I hope by this lecture we get a new boost actually in spending more time in studying and reading the scriptures. I remember we were visiting Vrindavan last year, and just before Krishna Balaram Mandir we met Hariprasad Prabhu to offer our obeisances to him. He asked us what are our plans, and we say, yeah, soon Kartik comes, and we plan to take some time aside to go deeper in our spiritual life. And his immediate question was, what will you study? What will you study? And I felt, oh yeah, study. I was planning to chant, but study I did not really plan. And this is actually something that is very important, because what we study, or whenever we contact with the scriptures, is actually Krishna consciousness that we take in. It's like absorbing Krishna consciousness. And then when we go through our services, when we go through our chanting, this is in, and this can be alive inside of us. But if we don't read enough, we are actually undernourished. We are actually not taking enough inputs of the scriptures. Therefore, it's actually very, very important that we have sufficient reading, and not only sufficient, but that we do it with quality, that we learn actually after reading to remember what we were reading, to learn to contemplate on how that can be applied in our life. Otherwise we might remain undernourished and uninspired. And when we do that enough, then our consciousness is influenced, and then we can see life in a different way, that we often called Shastra Shakshu. Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Devi ki jai, Shri Gaur Nitaya ki jai. So what could be a solution for those of us who don't read enough? What could be done so that we can read more? Yeah?
Organize the plan when we are reading and what we are reading, and in 1 month I will read this.
Yeah, make a plan. Achanti knows my answer or my lecture. Sometimes when we take breakfast together, my wife asks me, when did you schedule your reading for today? Oh yeah, I did not plan. And rest assured, if you don't schedule it, it's gone. You will have so many other things that you can do that will take your attention during the day that it will actually be very difficult to do it. So scheduling it is actually very important. So here we were seeing how to understand the scripture a little bit from our own effort, what we can do. How else can we understand the scriptures in connection to the verse that we were reading today? There were 2 answers given. Yeah?
I think it was verse 102 or something, which stated how if one dedicates him or herself to the lotus feet of Krishna, then can understand the subject matter which cannot be understood.
Yeah, very good. That was the first answer. By this full dedication, then we will be able to understand the scriptures. What else could be found in also the verse we had today?
By practice of devotional service.
Okay. What did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Sanatan about Rupa Goswami?
Empowered.
Yeah, empowered. He said, I have, and few times actually it comes, like in verse 102, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, previously, I empowered your brother Rupa Goswami to understand those melos. And at the end of this very chapter where we are now, Sanatan Goswami will speak to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and say, I have heard everything you say, but the conclusions that you have told me are the ocean of, the verse is, the conclusion that you have told me are the ocean of the ambrosial truth. My mind is unable to approach even a drop of that ocean. So even Sanatan Goswami saw what to say about us if we don't feel we can grasp it immediately, no problem. But Sanatan Goswami say, I cannot actually grasp it. And then in verse 124, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed his hand on Sanatan Goswami's head and blessed him, saying, let all those instructions be manifest to you. So we need to actually approach the scriptures, we need to make our effort in studying the scriptures and getting sufficient nourishment of our life, but at the same time we need an amount of humility that we understand we will not be able to just grasp and capture them on our own, but we need empowerment, we need blessings, and we need also to act accordingly. Here we were having the point that one needs to, the one who is fully dedicated in the service of the Lord will be able to grasp. So we also need to make our effort in application. So the last point for this first section on how to understand the scriptures, the last point is actually by teaching it to others. And that's what what Srila Prabhupada brings in the last paragraph of the purport. It's very, very nice how Prabhupada writes. He said, we need to understand our great responsibility to preach the cult of Vrindavan. What is that? The cult of Vrindavan. It's so interesting, how Prabhupada, he don't say the cult of Krishna consciousness, he said the cult of Vrindavan, which brings it also in a very, very, very specific branch of our Krishna consciousness, where we are actually aiming. We now have a nice temple in Vrindavan, Prabhupada said, and serious students should take advantage of it. So Prabhupada could say, and devotees could take advantage of it. But Prabhupada said, no, serious student. That shows that actually when we become serious and committed in our devotional service, and especially to go further in the next stage of our spiritual life, then we become actually very serious students. So it's good to read, it's good to study, but actually when we tell it to others, we actually master the knowledge. And sometimes I'm doing that. I spoke yesterday with a devotee who told me also he has difficulty to read. And I told him, one way I do, if during the day I don't have enough time to read, when I have enough time, I put some stickers in the place that touches me. And when I have a day that I don't have much time, then I go back and I just read the stickers. So I just read a paragraph or just read a few sentences that are able to touch me, that resonate with me. And then we need actually to think of it. And sometimes I do it on my own. I read this paragraph and then I try to explain it. Even no one is there, I say, okay, if someone will be here, how do I explain this? And often I did not get it right. I have to read it another time. And maybe I have to read it 3 times until I really get it right. And then by this process of reading it again and really connecting my consciousness with the topic, it actually gets deep. Because all what we have in the scriptures, we have to put it in a deep place into our heart. Otherwise it's not going to affect us sufficiently. But when we memorize, when we take in deeply, then it comes up as you do service, as you chant, is actually part of yourself. And I think some of you might have sometimes in your life do some studies like Bhakti Shastri or some structure studies. Usually it's very enlivening. You really feel you are spiritually very charged when you do that. Okay, so that was for the first point. I have to see that I don't stretch it too long. So that was on how to understand the scriptures. We have to make some efforts, and especially making sure we get sufficient nourishment by dedication and surrender, by blessings, and by teaching them to others. And now we will see about going through the different levels of advancement in our spiritual life, which I feel is actually a very important point for us to consider. Srila Prabhupada expects us to learn those topics so that we can teach them to others. And that was actually before. And I mean, Prabhupada speak about that when the topic discussed are actually very high topic. Will we teach that to new devotee? No. Those topics are meant for actually more advanced devotees. So here Prabhupada, in this section where all those very high topics are described, Prabhupada said that actually we should learn those topics and teach them to others. That means we are not only supposed to teach to new people, but we are also supposed to teach to devotees and help devotees to actually move forward in their different stages of development. So as more as we advance, as more specific our spiritual journey will be, and as more actually personalized our journey goes. So we need actually to know the different levels of Krishna consciousness. It's actually very nicely described in Madhurya Kanambini, and that we see that actually we are moving forward and that we don't get stuck. For that we need a lot of guidance, And we need to keep moving forward. My spiritual master often brings this question: what is your next step? Introspect and think, what is actually waiting for me to move forward? And in Bhakti-aloka, a book of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which is a commentary on Upadeshamrita, there is this discussion about niyamagraha, to be actually too attached to rules and regulation, or to not follow them at all, or to not know why we follow those rules and regulation. And there Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained that at each levels we go, we have actually different set of rules. And in order to go to a higher level, one need actually to let go of lower rules for the lower level. My terrace is just here behind. Yeah. Wow, even hot water. Thank you. That's good. Very good. You can give me one of those also. I'm sorry, I just started to get a little taken by my throat. I hope I will not spread it around. Please take some good amount of vitamin C to keep your immune system strong. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained that in order to go to higher level, we need to let go of the rules of the lower level. And here I just quote from Bhakti-aloka. By following those enjoined prescriptions and prohibitions, one becomes eligible to attain the next step. If one is unable to attain the next step, he falls down to a lower step. This is called degradation. Attaining the higher step is called advancement. Those who do not give up the rules of the previous levels are bound by those rules like chains that do not allow him to proceed to the next level. I had recently a discussion with one devotee of our community in Golokadam. She's practicing Krishna consciousness since around 40 years. And she told me, wow, the first 10 years, I was so enthusiastic in my devotional service, but then it went down. And I think it's something we can see also in general in Krishna consciousness, that we have many devotees who have practiced Krishna consciousness for many years, but who are not so much active anymore in Krishna consciousness. And what I asked this devotee, what is the reason? What went wrong on the spiritual journey? The devotee say, yeah, because we do aparad. I say, yeah, I agree. I mean, I did not mention much, but my understanding on that is that when devotee gets stuck in one level of Krishna consciousness, then they cannot, if they don't move forward, then like in Bhakti-aloka it's written, if you move forward it's called advancement, but if you are not moving forward, then you will push to go backward. You will go back into degradation. And for me, it resonates very, very deeply the importance that devotees have enough guidance and enough understanding, enough cultivation, so that we actually don't get stuck, and that we can move forward in the levels of Krishna consciousness. I heard once, that was a quote from Ravindra Swarup, but I don't remember, it's a long time ago, but Ravindra Swarup was saying, one should not remain more than 5 or maximum 10 years in the level of anartha nivritti, because that's usually where we get stuck, in those levels of purifying the heart. So for me it's very much in my mind those days of being actually important to move forward in our levels of advancement, and to get sufficient guidance by the devotees into where we are and how to move forward, because it is a step by step toward the ultimate goal of life, and to not take the risk to actually get stuck and eventually degrade. I mean, nothing is ever lost. That's a good news. But that we might get more loose into our practice of Krishna consciousness. And the last point I want to bring today is to be a little bit more aware of the ultimate goal of life, of all what we spoke so far. And there is this beautiful verse in Bhagavad Gita 2:41, where Krishna says, "Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose. Their aim is one. O beloved child of the Kurus, the intelligence of those who are irresolute is many-branched." So this is when we go on in Krishna consciousness, we want to become more and more focused and more one-pointed on going toward the ultimate goal of life. And that was also written, that was the verse 101 we had today. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "This brief description is an elaboration of the ultimate goal of life. Indeed, this is the fifth and ultimate goal, which is beyond the platform of liberation. It is called Krishna Prema Dhan, the treasure of love for Krishna." Treasure, right? It's very special, very precious. So actually, when we read and study the scriptures, we will always be reminded of what is the ultimate goal of life and what is the direction where we have to go. We have to be careful of two impediments. What are the most biggest impediments? We have to be careful in our cultivation of pure devotional service. Anyabhilashita Sunyam verse. What are the two main impediments for pure devotional service? Hope I'm quoting the right verse. Jnana, Karmadi, Anavritam. We have to be careful with Jnana and Karma, which are described in Raghunath Das Goswami Manashiksha as two witches that are just haunting us. Desire for enjoying this world and desire for liberation. And Haripashad Prabhu in the last retreat really dropped a bomb on us by explaining that for most of us the desire to go back to Godhead is actually colored by desire for liberation. And that's actually not at all wanted. Of course, going back to Godhead to serve the Lord and be engaged in their service, that's what we want. But it's actually important to be careful to not develop those desire for liberation in the name of going back to Godhead. So we have to keep very, very straight into our sadhya, into what is the ultimate goal of life, to develop this Krishna Prema Dhan, this love of God. There is, Prabhupada was giving this example that for a boat that do not have a rudder, the things that is behind, that gives direction, for a boat without a rudder, there is no favorable wind. So in the same way, when we are not clear and not aware of what our goal is, then our energy might be just spread in all the directions. And there is a verse that defines what is sadhana bhakti, and in this verse there is the word bhavet sadhya, that one actually need to be aware of what is the sadhya, what is the goal. That the sadhana, for a sadhana to be a sadhana, you need to make some effort, but you need to know what is the sadhya. You need to be aware of what is the goal, and then it's called actually sadhana. So I like to end for today with two quotes. One is actually from Sridhar Swami, the godbrother of Prabhupada, I think. He said, "There will be so many practical dealings in our present stage, but we must always keep our highest ideal over our head." And so many practical dealings we do in our life, but we have to keep our highest ideal over our head. Then we shall be able to make progress. The highest ideal on the path of self-realization is our all in life. It is our greatest wealth. My conception of the highest goal will always direct me to advance, to go forward. Wherever I go, I must follow that greatest ideal. And the last, it's actually my spiritual master. It's paraphrased, but it's more or less what he was saying. Lately, I am more and more thinking of my life like a journey which goes to the ultimate destination, the transcendental Queen and King of Vrindavan. I feel it is important to have such a focus so that the life and our decisions are fully in line with our goal and become in fact energized by the meditation of our goal. So that was for today. The principle was that to reach the supreme goal of love of God, we must learn about it and become aware of it and go through the station very nicely on our spiritual journey. And yes, we were seeing how we can understand the scriptures, how we should be careful to go through the different levels, and at the end to not lose awareness of what is actually the goal we want to reach. So I thank you for your attention. Do we have time to take maybe a few questions? There. Wonderful. It's so nice when you see there is question, you feel devotees who are listening carefully. When there is no question after a lecture, you feel, oh, maybe I just could not reach the audience. So thank you. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. So you mentioned there are different levels of rule sets, and I was wondering if you have maybe a practical example on a rule of a lower level which we should get up in order for a higher level, and how would that look?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's actually also a question that I have. It's actually not so clear to me. Bhaktivinoda Thakur do not mention that. But some, you have rules. There are actually many rules in the scriptures. And for example, one would be you have to take bath 3 times a day. And that many actually of the rules are going to bring you more and more in the mode of goodness. And from the mode of goodness you move actually more and more into Krishna consciousness. So as you are more established in the mode of goodness, then maybe some of those rules are not so important, and you can focus actually more and more into serving Krishna and pleasing Krishna. And you can see, do you know what are all the rules and regulations are servant of one rule, and one do and one don't. Do you know what is?
No.
Yeah. All the rules and regulations, they are the servant of one principle. And this principle is always to remember Krishna and never forget him. So more or less the moving, the giving up of rules and accepting new rules is that you come more and more closer to the principle of always remembering the Lord and never forget him. Because some of the rules you sometimes can get really lost with rules. My Shiksha Guru Shankararanya Prabhu from Switzerland was telling me sometimes we have put rules and regulation on the altar. And this is what we see as the goal, that we have to follow the rules and regulation. So in those moments, those type of rules or those type of understanding are really impediment. But as we move forward, you can always ask you the question, is that rules or regulation helping me to actually always remember Krishna and never forget him? Or is it bewildering me that actually is making it more difficult for me to remember the Lord? So that's the way. Of course, the 4 rules and regulation, those one are must. There's no way around. That's if you want to do advancement, we need them. Is that all right? Did I understand?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Precisely with examples and all this.
Okay, so that can be a place where we can research. Huh?
You have to switch it on. No, you up there is a standby.
The Sankalpa Kaumudi of Shivara Maharaj is explaining really different steps and which rules are to be accepted, so you could look into that.
Okay. I see there are many. Please.
Gaura Hari Prabhu, thank you so much for the lecture. Since this chapter was entitled Life's Ultimate Goal, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said that it's Krishna Premadana. Now I want to ask about, I saw how devotees, even myself, like every spiritual practitioner has the highest goal, but it doesn't face it on the daily basis, reaching the goal. So that may discourage the person to continue on that path. I remember that Srila Rupa Goswami said that like trust and the patience are important. So what you can say that can prevent us for shifting to attaining some, let's say, worldly goals and to go out of the path because the goal is a little bit prolonged. Reaching the goal is prolonged for us.
Thank you. I think that's actually, we have to be patient, but if we are too long into this zone where we are actually not moving to the next step, then actually it becomes detrimental. Then there we should not be more patient. We should become like eager to move forward on our path. But everything really depends on the association. When you have good association with devotees, you cannot forget the goal. And when you read sufficiently, you always will stay nicely on the track and keep moving forward. But when the association is getting loose, and when the absorption in the scripture is getting loose, automatically the chanting, the taste in chanting is also getting down, and then one can maintain. But if one not make a reform, like Prabhupada was speaking, reformatory process, like in one of the purport, then we are actually keep putting ourselves into a dangerous situation where we can actually degrade ourselves back into material energy. But the association of advanced devotee is something, and there was also, it came through the purport when there was this long verse of the high devotee, the consciousness of the higher devotee. Even the devotee who is very advanced, he is praying for association with more advanced devotees. We had sometimes the visit of Braj Sundar from Vrindavan in Golokadam, and sometimes he will stay like for 5 minutes in front of Prabhupada with folded hands. And once I say, what do you pray for? I say, I pray for association with advanced devotees. And sometimes advanced devotees are there, and we are not able to take the association or to be eager enough to take their association. So there, I think, is really like the key. Do we have here, just in front also.
Krishna Prabhu, again a question regarding the Niyamagraha.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, because also in relation to preaching to others, sometimes we are not mature enough to understand where the others are, and then we try to impose rules on them, and don't realize that these rules don't bring them to the ultimate goal, but they are just exhausted afterwards and then leave it. So what tips would you give that we don't make this mistake, that we impose rules that we can follow, or but we don't understand that for them it's not yet the time?
Yeah. It's so beautiful to see how Prabhupada did with the beginning devotees. He told them about the rules and regulation just before initiation or just after initiation. He just did not tell them of. So I think sometimes the problem is often it happened when we are a little bit neophyte, that we feel I have knowledge and I know things, and we feel very elated that we can teach others something. So then a newcomer comes and we see he's doing a mistake, so immediately, here, no, the rules is like this and like that. So often it's actually, we do that out of ego and showing that we know better and that we can, that we can teach others about that. But Prabhupada was, actually we should not speak too much about the rules and regulation. And if someone ask, for example, in our community, we often have volunteers coming, and they are non-devotee, then they come, they are spiritually inclined, but they come to have some free prasad and free lodging into a spiritual community. So whenever they ask us about our rules and like this, we always explain the connection with the 4 pillars of Dharma, how the rules are actually destroying, not following the rules, destroy one of the pillars of Dharma. So it's good also that when we have to give rules and explain rules, that we can explain actually what is the deeper meaning and why we follow the rules behind. But often it's a little ego thing that one is just giving too many rules. But if you are not sure, it's better to not give rules, but maybe ask another devotee who might know this particular devotee better. And do you think that would be good for him to? But that should be actually the role of the spiritual master, the role of the senior devotees, authorities of temple, and like this, to be able to see the devotees, see how they are doing, and actually give them like next step and say, maybe from now on, maybe this, you could leave it a little bit more aside, but maybe you can try to do more a little of this. But mainly the spiritual master, Diksha and Shiksha Guru. Yeah? Okay, Mataji.
You made this point that devotees, they lose faith on a certain point and they leave then Krishna consciousness. But is it not that Krishna is giving us His mercy for maybe long years, and we are carried like on a cloud, and then on a certain point He throws back a little bit His mercy, like to say, now you stand a little bit on your own feet and you show me you must make some more endeavors, and you show me how serious this means to me. And then it becomes more difficult, if we have to endeavor more and more to show Krishna, I only want service to you.
Yes, thank you. It's a good and relevant comment. Bhakti Tirtha Swami was giving the example of when you go to school, when you start school, when you are in primary school, you do drawing, you do singing, everything is easy. But as you progress in the school, it becomes more difficult, and then you go to university, you have to invest so much time. So Bhakti Tirtha Swami was saying also in the going to reach our ultimate goal of life, it's not okay when I'm initiated, now I can relax, or now I'm Brahmana, now I can relax. Actually, our investment and our giving to Krishna consciousness become more and more and more. And Krishna definitely give us some extra in the beginning to give us strength and faith and like this, but if he sees that we are stagnating, then he might just withdraw a little bit for us to actually decide to move forward, or that we have to take the decision, where do I stand? Do I want actually to invest more and move forward? So this is something I very often heard, that sometimes Krishna purposefully withdraw the not the mercy, but the ecstasy, or the joy that we feel in devotional service, so that we actually move forward to the next stage. Krishna do not want us to stagnate in one of the level.
It's like on book distribution. One day you can do so many books, and the next day maybe you can do very little.
Yeah.
And then he also wants to see, now do you continue now, because the result is not so good anymore, how serious you are about this.
you, Mataji. Maybe we take the last question with Mataji. Is it okay? Or yeah, last time. Yeah.
Thank you. My question was related to Anartha Nivriti and the quote that you mentioned of how one should not stay for more than 5 to 10 years in the stage of Anartha Nivriti. And I was thinking how, when I read and when I reflect on the stage of Anartha Nivriti, it's mostly like I put in my endeavor for purification and I really introspect. But somehow I feel it's one stage where I don't know what's happening. Like I endeavor, but then how much cleansing is happening, it's so much based on prayers and mercy. So how must one really propel themselves on the stage of Anartha Nivriti that they're not stuck there?
I mean, there is both our effort and the mercy, and sometimes we tend to be more on our own effort than depending on the mercy. So both needs to be there. At the same time, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was mentioning that this was, I mean, he never spoke, often Haripashad speak about that. Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati was, I think it was in Radhakund, and it was a Braj Mandal Parikram, and then suddenly Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur started to speak about pastimes, Astakalya Lila of Krishna. And everyone was shocked, why he speak now of such high topics. And Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati said, I know many of you will have difficulty to hear that. But then he said, if you put, you should put more emphasis to Artha Pavriti than Anartha Nivriti. So to not be too much focused on okay, I have this Anartha, I have to clean. No, we also have to fix our consciousness on the goal and what is the prayojana. And then he was giving a quota, because sometimes it's a little bit taboo, and sometimes we think, oh, that's very high, it will never be for me, or I'm not good enough, that's only for my Bhagavat, not for me, and like this. And Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati said, for one who is like 15 or 20 years practicing Krishna consciousness seriously, he actually need to move into this realm of Krishna consciousness. So that's often we get stuck into Anartha Nivriti, but we don't develop into the Artha Pavriti, into the positive injunction of Krishna consciousness. That's I see that Jayanti, you had also a thought on it.
It's similar to what you say. Practically, we need to as we develop taste, then naturally these other things will go away and we will be not attached. So I think it's part of Artha Pravriti when we hear more about the pastimes and like this, then natural we develop this taste, and that allows us not to stay in this lower.
Is that okay? Good. Everyone ready to move forward in Krishna consciousness? Or should we just stay where we are? It's comfortable and okay. Thank you for your attention. Sorry for stretching a little long. Garantaraj Srimad Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
even unknowingly the changes are happening. So it's very active process. And at the same time, what really motivates me is that we have to consciously try to forego this that we have to move to what and yeah, the stage in which I always feel that if I really want to
and it's really enhanced
some point that we get
yes, it's really cool. Nice.
you also
maybe not enough. Some people said then we had Shana long time. We had 1 hour of Bhajan in Bhajan, and not in Bhajan, but we had a little bit before.
So
but some days
this is short enough that in 5-10 years I will be able to put.
That's nice. You have such a good response.
Yeah,
Coming from all of us.
mainly from Belgium, mainly from we had from someone who was some guy from America. It's very, very particular. It's very special. We have like more and more. Now we make like waiting list for ashram. So and as soon as someone gets out, someone can serve and
From time to time I get to hear from some prostrated because you missed.
Feeling that.
We'll go and check because my mind is not 4 or 5 teeth missing inside, so
Before that, it's so
usually
uncertain
most
but
of
also
us
certain at the same
just go
time.
and check
Because
out
we get to push consciousness, you know that you are on this journey.
but in case
at
you
the same time you don't know if you're moving it up.
not really sure
But
I could do
that's
something
quite
short.
good.
I will go back to it. If you if he's speaking, I will be happy to hear.
Yeah. Years, many groups are very mad when that used to be already very popular as a brahmachari before.
Okay.
Possibly she was the same.
Okay. It's from which country?
Malaysia.
Malaysia.
Hungary.
Okay.
Very similar Malaysia.
I think that's very part of that.
Yeah, that's actually the common congregation in Bali. channel the one
blessings today. This is Bhakti Life course that Krishna used to do. So now we are starting it here. And at 10 we're supposed to start with that. Bhakti Life. The one after Gita. So is the Bhagavatam? Nectar devotion. Yeah. Sure. Maybe that's true. I want to figure this and see if we can share with others. I just feel like so much it gives me in terms of sincerity and empowerment. Then you develop a taste also because you can absorb and study and yes. Then I let you go because I'll quickly also take that. Thank you. I think this is from Gaura.
serve qualcosa? Tutto? Ancora resta